Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Battles of the American Civil War, and we got a big one for you guys today. We've been kind of leading up to this. Major rail town of Corinth is about to be sieged, and mind you, this Siege of Corinth, as we're going to start out with, is taking place pretty much the whole time these last 3 episodes we just did happen as well. So, got big battles taking place at the same time. New Orleans is being captured at the same time. Corinth is being sieged, and lots of other stuff. Plus, we'll have a couple little minor battles. Williamsburg and Dragoon Springs to end this one. First, we got the big boys: Halleck, Beauregard, Grant. They're all in this one. Siege of Corinth lasted from April 29th to May 30th, 1862 in, obviously, Corinth, Mississippi. Collection of Union forces under the overall command of Major General Henry Halleck engaged in a month-long siege of the city, whose Confederate occupants were commanded by General P.G.T. Beauregard.
P.G.T. Beauregard. Haven't heard him in a while, have we? Or was he
Battle of Shiloh. Yeah. Following the Union Army victory at the Battle of Shiloh, April 6th through 7th, General Henry Halleck amassed 3 Union armies. He said, I need the Tennessee, the Ohio, the Mississippi. He said, I need them for an advance on the vital rail center of Corinth. Where's that? Mississippi. I just did a U. Made cautious by the staggering losses at Shiloh, Halleck embarked on a tedious campaign of offensive entrenchment, fortifying after each advance. By May 25th, 1862, after moving 5 miles in 3 weeks, Halleck was in position to lay siege to the town. Confederate morale was low, and Beauregard was outnumbered 2-1. The water was bad. Typhoid and dysentery had felled thousands of his men. Damn, he's dying of diseases. And at Council of War, the Confederate officers concluded that they could not hold the railroad crossover. Sickness had claimed the lives of as many men as the Confederacy had lost at Shiloh alone.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Wow was right. We got the Department of Mississippi, commanded by Major General Henry Halleck himself, divided into 3 wings. Each wing corresponded to one of the 3 armies under his command. Obviously, it totaled 120,172 men present for duty.
Ooh.
A large army. Army of the Mississippi, which is designated the left wing, commanded by Major General John Pope, totaled 21,510. Army of Ohio, designated the center wing, commanded by Major General Don Carlos Buell, totaled 48,108 men. And the Army of the Tennessee, which was the right wing, commanded by Major General George H. Thomas, totaled 50,554 men present for duty. All ready to go, baby.
250,000.
120,000.
200.
Just said 120,000.
Altogether.
120,000.
The one was just 120.
No, that was all of that made up the 120,000.
So, yeah, 120, huh?
120. What's the old
Dang.
Confederates got?
Let's see what they got. The Army of Mississippi, commanded by General P.G.T. Beauregard, who also held overall command of the Confederate forces at Corinth, consisted of 45,000 men on April 30th. Wow. Divided into 4 troops, so 10,000 guys in each. Oh, that's outnumbered majorly.
Not good.
The First Corps, commanded by Major General Leonidas Polk. Second Corps, commanded by Major General Braxton Bragg. I mean, we got some heavy hitters here.
The big guys, man.
Included divisions, Braxton Bragg's included divisions of Major General Benjamin F. Chatham and Major General Jones M. Withers. Dang. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major generals under General.
Yep.
Jeez, oh, Pete. The Third Corps, commanded by another Major General, Williams J. Hardy, included the brigades of Colonel Robert G. Shaver, Brigadier General Patrick Claiborne, Brigadier General S.A.M. Wood. You think they call him Sam?
Maybe.
And Brigadier General John S. Marmaduke.
Hey, Marmaduke.
I wonder if he had a Great Dane at home.
Right.
The Reserve Corps, commanded by Brigadier General John C. Breckinridge. Army of the West, commanded by Major General Earl Van Dorn, consisted of 12,901 men under the divisions of Major General Samuel Jones, Major General Sterling Price, and Major General John P. McCown.
Dude, they brought everybody to this fucking little affair, didn't they?
Not enough soldiers, though.
Of Halleck's wing commanders, John Pope proved to be the most aggressive during the campaign. Pope led the Army's left wing and was the furthest away from Halleck's headquarters. Yeah, so he was like, I'm furthest away. I'll do whatever I want. On May 3rd, Pope moved forward and captured the town of Farmington, only a few miles from Corinth. Instead of moving the center wing under Don Carlos Buell forward, Halleck ordered Pope to withdraw and realign with Buell. General Beauregard ordered Earl Van Dorn to attack Pope's advance wing on May 9th. Pope made a successful withdrawal and rejoined with Buell. General Braxton Bragg of the Confederates, obviously, who also participated, which we already said.
All right.
He had 25,000 men. All right. The Union Army had 12,000 troops on hand. Right there, I guess. Van Dorn's corps barely engaged. He had 9 casualties. Daniel Ruggles' division of Bragg's corps, on the other hand, which bore the brunt of the fighting, suffered 8 dead, 89 wounded, 2 missing or captured.
Dang.
The Union Army had 16 killed, 148 wounded, and 14 missing or captured. And this is just this little skirmish with Van Dorn and Buell, or Pope.
All right. Setting things up for what's about. Confederates better get some dudes.
Yeah.
They're heavily outnumbered. 8th Wisconsin Volunteer Infantry Regiment was ordered to draw the enemy out as to count their numbers, and they withdrew to a swamp north of town. Wisconsin 8th reported 5 killed, 14 severely wounded, 19 slightly wounded.
Slightly.
Old Abe, the Screaming Eagle, accompanied the Wisconsin 8th Infantry.
It's a legit eagle.
The 5th Minnesota Instant.
We got an instant regiment. Just add water.
Just add water. The 5th Minnesota Infantry Regiment arrived in Corinth on 24th of May. Reported to General John Pope in the field before Corinth, Mississippi, and were assigned to the 2nd Brigade, 1st Division, Army of the Mississippi.
Okay.
Look at that. Like, here you guys go. Get out of here.
Hey, Minnesota, you're with the Mississippi.
Yeah. The regiment had hardly time to establish its camp and realize its surroundings before it was brought into action. 28th of May, 4 days after it had reached the front, it participated in the tail end of the Battle of Farmington, contributing a number of kills and wounded. Look at that.
Contributing, which means they got a number killed and wounded.
Right.
As the wings of Halleck's army group begin to align themselves in the front of Corinth, Major General William Tecumseh Sherman proposed a plan of attack against the Confederate brigade of Brigadier General James R. Chalmers, which had created a strong defensive position at the Russell House along the Confederate front lines. Sherman met with Generals Halleck and George Henry Thomas on May 16th to discuss his plan. Sherman planned for the brigades of Colonel Morgan Smith and Brigadier General James W. Denver to lead the attack, with Major General Stephen A. Hurlbut's division lending support.
Okay.
May 17th, the attack commenced with Denver on the right, Smith in the center, and Hurlbut's reserved to the right.
Okay.
Okay, nobody on the left.
All right.
So you got a left and a right, not a center. Chalmers offered a stubborn resistance while some of his men fired from within the Russell House.
Oh, geez.
Chalmers was like, I ain't going that easy.
Right. The Confederates almost succeeded with a flank attack against Smith's right, but were repulsed by Colonel Thomas Kilby Smith and the 54th Ohio. As soon as a battery from the 1st Illinois Artillery deployed, the advantage was in the favor of the Union.
Yeah.
Chalmers on the Confederate side retreated beyond Phillips Creek near the Russell House property, and Morgan Smith's brigade from the north occupied high ground on which the house stood. Well, General Sherman's losses were 10 killed, 31 wounded, all of which were for Smith's brigade. Confederate losses were unknown, but Sherman reported 12 dead left on the field. Same day, division under Brigadier General Thomas W. Sherman drove off a Confederate force covering a crossing along a bridge creek.
So there's like several little mini battles within the bigger battle, dude.
Right, just everywhere.
May 21st, Major General William Bull Nelson ordered Colonel Thomas D. Sedgwick to conduct a reconnaissance in force against the Confederate trenches along Bridge Creek near Widow Surratt's farm. Sedgwick moved forward from the Union trenches occupied by Brigadier General Thomas J. Wood's division and deployed the 20th Kentucky Infantry at the edge of the clearing and the 1st Kentucky Infantry to the left facing a densely wooded area. Shortly after deployment, the Kentuckians came under fire. The Confederate resistance was so severe, Sedgwick was forced to fall back. And then he brought forward artillery and the 2nd Kentucky Infantry, while General Wood lent cavalry support from his division. He said, man, I'm taking too much fire. I need some help here.
Yeah, the Confederates attempted a flank attack against the 1st Kentucky, but the Union artillery, personally supervised by Captain Elvin C. Gilliam of Buell's staff, and the 31st Infantry of Indiana, in reserve, stabilizing the line.
Okay.
the Confederates made 3 more attempts to turn the Union flank until retiring to a creek beyond the Surratt farm. General Nelson ordered Sedgwick to hold his position until nightfall, then return to the Union camp. A week later, General Buell would mount an attack to gain the high ground surrounding the Surratt farm.
All right,
A week later, huh? Jeez.
The Confederates are trying hard to break up something there. It just ain't working, man.
All right.
Too many men on the Union side. May 27th, Halleck ordered Major General William T. Sherman to drive the Confederates from a log house along the Corinth Road and make a strong demonstration against Corinth itself, if possible. At the edge of a cotton field along Sherman's front was a double log house, which the Confederates had converted into a block house by removing the chinking between the logs.
Okay.
Oh, so they can fire from it, huh? Sherman formed an attacking column with Morgan L. Smith's brigade on the left and James W. Denver's brigade on the right. John A. Logan's brigade, which was from John McClernand's Reserve Corps, and James C. Veach's brigade from Stephen A. Hurlbut's division were also brought up for support.
Okay.
Colonel Ezra Taylor fired several artillery rounds to signal the infantry attack. He said, "It's time to go, boys."
Yeah, buddy. Confederate infantry had been using a hill in the vicinity of the Widow Surratt farm for picket outposts. Mm-hmm. With all his wings in line, Halleck ordered Buell to clear the Confederates off that Surratt Farm Hill. That Surratt Farm Hill. You get those rebels off that hill.
Off that hill, damn it.
Buell chose Major General Alexander M. McCook. Go get McCook. And his reserve division. We're going to seize that hill. And then we're going to use it as a staging point for a further attack against Corinth. See?
You gotta think.
May 27th, McCook organized his brigades into the line of attack, intending to overwhelm the Confederates by surprise and overwhelming force.
I don't think it's by surprise. You guys have been fighting already for a week over here.
Right. And plus, you guys do got the overwhelming force. The brigades of Brigadier General Lavelle H. Rousseau,
something like that. Huh?
and Brigadier General Richard W. Johnson would lead the advance side by side.
Step by step, baby. Colonel Frederick S. Stumball's brigade. There's so many people. His brigade followed in support of Johnson and Colonel Robert L. McCook's in support of Rousseau. Johnson's brigade encountered some heavy skirmishing, but the hill was taken in short time. McCook's division entrenched and brought heavy artillery to the new position and immediately began to shell the Confederates.
Right.
Beauregard's artillery responded with minimal effort. The engagement at the Surratt Farm Hill allowed Halleck to bring forward siege guns. Oh, he said we get the siege guns out now for the bombardment of Corinth.
Oh, man.
So we're taking the city tonight, boys.
Why wouldn't the Confederates have a massive army right there?
Well, we know the answer to that.
Right.
They're idiots.
28th of May, Major General Nelson ordered Colonel Sedgwick to seize a Confederate-held crossing of Bridge Creek, a small tributary of the Tuscumbia River. Tuscumbia. Sedgwick moved his brigade out of the main Union trenches with the 2nd and the 20th Kentucky in the lead. So you got the Kentuckians in the lead there, huh? Look at these guys. Where they at? Mississippi? That's kind of not the same train. Sedgwick drove into the Confederate pickets, then encountered a larger force guarding the bridge. The Kentucky infantry managed to gain hold of the eastern end of the bridge, while Sedgwick ordered forward the 31st Indiana and Captain John Mendenhall's artillery battery. These reinforcements and artillery forced the Confederates to abandon the bridge completely.
They said bye.
Can you imagine being the Confederates sitting there guarding the bridge with such a few people, and you see this massive...
And then you're like, right this way, sir.
Yeah.
With the Federal Army preparing to lay siege to the town, a Confederate Council of War decided to retreat. Confederate Commander General P.G.T. Beauregard saved his army by a hoax. Some of the men were given 3 days' rations in order to prepare for an attack. As expected, 1 or 2 went over to the Union with that news. Oh, so was it on purpose that they went over, or are there's just dudes that are like trying to get away from the army? The preliminary bombardment began, and Union forces maneuvered for position.
Okay.
During the night of May 29th, the Confederate Army moved out. They used the Mobile and Ohio Railroad to carry the sick and wounded, the heavy artillery, and tons of supplies. All right, so Beauregard using little trick effects, huh?
Right. When a train arrived, the troops cheered as though reinforcements were arriving.
No, boys, you guys are getting on this train. You're getting the hell out of here.
They set up dummy Quaker guns along defensive earthworks. Campfires were kept burning. Buglers, and buglers and drummers played. The rest of the men slipped away undetected, withdrawing to Tupelo, Mississippi. When Union patrols entered Corinth on the morning of May 30th, they found the Confederate troops gone.
Dude.
The Union forces took control and made it the base for their operations to seize control of the Mississippi River Valley.
Yes, sir.
And especially the Confederate stronghold of Vicksburg.
Which we know don't get seized for another couple years anyway, so at least they try. John Pope, whose aggressiveness exceeded his strategic capabilities, remarked in his memoirs that Halleck's cautious campaign failed to take full advantage of a glittering array of talented Union officers, which included Grant, Sherman, Sheridan, Thomas, McPherson, Logan, Buell, Rosecrans, and many others that I might mention.
Right.
Look at him talking shit. Confederate Army led by Major General Earl Van Dorn attempted to retake the city in October of 1862, which is considered the Second Battle of Corinth by a Union Army under the command of Rosecrans. At times during the Second Battle, Confederate forces seemed to have the upper hand, but would fail to follow up their successes, leading to a devastating defeat for Confederate forces once again.
Jeez, oh,
He
Pete.
ain't getting Corinth back.
They're just getting their asses handed to
Right.
them, man. Jeez, oh, Pete. Rosecrans had the opportunity to crush rebel forces during the battle, but failed to follow up his victory, allowing Major General Earl Van Dorn to escape from destruction.
Can't do that.
Corinth would ultimately lead to the operations that would open the Mississippi River Valley, which was considered by General Chief Henry W. Halleck as the opening of the Mississippi River will be to us of more advantage than the capture of 40 Richmonds.
Yeah.
Probably right about that there. Confederate Brigadier General Joseph L. Hogg, father of the famous future Texas Governor Jim Hogg, contracted dysentery during the siege and died on
Dysentery.
right.
That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah, dysentery.
I
Dysentery.
called it the same thing earlier.
During the siege and died on the 16th of May, 1862. Poor guy.
Poor guy. Let's call the 35 little battles of the Battle of Corinth.
Jeez, oh, Pete.
Confederates just can't catch a break, and I don't think they're going to catch one here. Moving on to the Battle of Williamsburg, which is taking place right during the Battle of Corinth on May 5th, 1862, obviously. It's also known as the Battle of Fort Magruder in York County, James City County, and Williamsburg, Virginia. 3 different places.
Dang.
It's part of the Peninsula Campaign. It was the first pitched battle of the Peninsula Campaign.
Okay.
What does that mean? Oh, pitched is where they don't meet each other by happenstance.
All right.
This is like planned. They plan to meet up here, apparently.
All right, we're going to be here, and it's like parking lot 3 o'clock, boys.
Right. When Confederate General Joseph E. Johnston unexpectedly withdrew his forces from the Warwick line at the Siege of Yorktown, which you guys already know, the night of May 3rd, Union Major General George B. McClellan was taken by surprise and was unprepared to mount an immediate pursuit. On May 4th, he ordered Cavalry Commander Brigadier General George Stoneman to pursue Johnston's rear guard and send approximately half of this Army of the Potomac along behind Stoneman under the command of Brigadier General Edwin V. Sumner. He also ordered Brigadier General William B. Franklin's division to board transport ships on the York River in an attempt to move upstream and land so as to cut off Johnston's retreat.
Okay. Jeez, oh, Pete. This guy just wants to go.
All right.
However,
However.
took 2 days just to board the men and equipment onto the ships.
Jeez.
So the maneuver had no effect on the Battle of May 5th. Franklin's division landed and fought in the Battle of Etham's Landing on the 7th of May.
Which we'll get to.
By May 5th, Johnston's army was making slow progress on muddy roads, and Stoneman's cavalry was skirmishing with Brigadier General Jeb Stewart's cavalry.
JEB.
Right, which was in Johnston's rear.
Right.
To give time for the bulk of his army to get free, Johnston detached part of his force to make a stand at a large earthen fortification, which they called Fort Magruder. Straddling the Williamsburg Road from Yorktown, constructed earlier by Brigadier General John B. Magruder, obviously.
We did this a little out of order, I guess, because if you recall, a couple battles ago,
Right.
Johnson died. And a couple episodes ago, but that battle was like a month-long battle that started before this battle, so it's weird. What are you going to do, Rick?
Right.
Army of the Potomac, obviously led by George B. McClellan. Commanded in the field was Brigadier General Edwin V. Sumner. You got the 3rd Corps, commanded by Brigadier General Samuel P. Heintzelman. 4th Corps, Brigadier General Erasmus D. Keyes, and the Cavalry Advance Guard is taken up by Brigadier General George Stoneman.
George Stoneman.
On the other side, Army of Northern Virginia, General Joseph Johnston. Commanded in his field is Major General James Longstreet. Longstreet there. Also, Longstreet is in the 2nd Division along with Brigadier General Richard H. Anderson. And that's, plus we got Magruder's command and led by Major General D.H. Hill, plus some cavalry going on.
Fantastic. Brigadier General Joseph Hooker's 2nd Division of the 3rd Corps was the lead infantry in the Union Army advance. It assaulted Fort Magruder in a line of rifle pits, smaller fortifications that extended in an arc southwest from the fort, but was repulsed. Confederate counterattacks directed by Major General James Longstreet threatened to overwhelm Hooker's division, which had contested the ground alone since the early morning while waiting for the main body of the army to arrive. Hooker expected Brigadier General William F. Baldy Smith's 2nd Division of the 4th Corps marching north on the Yorktown Road to hear the sound of battle and come in on Hooker's right in support.
Oh.
However, Smith had been halted by Sumner more than a mile away from Hooker's position. And he's like, dude, we're a mile away from your position. I got halted by Sumner.
Halted, man.
He had been concerned that the Confederates would leave the fortifications and attack him on the Yorktown Road.
Oh, concerned. He was. Longstreet's men did leave their fortifications, but they attacked Hooker, not Smith or Sumner. Thought wrong on that one, didn't you? The brigade of Brigadier General Cadmus M. Wilcox applied strong pressure to Hooker's line. Regimental bands playing Yankee Doodle slowed the retreating troops as they passed by, allowing them to rally long enough to be aided by the rival Brigadier General Philip Kearny's 3rd Division of the 3rd Corps at about 2:30 p.m.
All right.
Kearny ostentatiously rode his horse out in front of his picket lines to reconnoiter and urges men forward by flashing his saber with his only arm.
Damn right.
Well, he only has one arm.
I guess.
The Confederates were pushed off the Lee's Mill Road and back into the woods, and the abatis of their defensive positions there. Sharp firefights occurred until late in the afternoon.
Look at these Union guys, man, going out front with their swords out.
With their sabers.
While Hooker continued to confront the Confederate forces in front of him at Fort Magruder, Brigadier General Winfield S. Hancock's 1st Brigade of Baldy Smith's Division, which had marched a few miles to the Federal right and crossed Cubs Creek at the point where it was dammed to form the Jones Mill Pond. Nice. Got a little pond, too, off on the side. And they began bombarding Longstreet's left flank around noon. Major General D.H. Hill, commanding Longstreet's reserve force, had previously detached a brigade under Brigadier General Jubal Early and posted them on the grounds of College of William and Mary.
Now we're fighting on colleges, huh?
All right, why don't you go check out college?
All right. Hearing the sounds of Union artillery, Early and Hill hurried in that direction. Split in his command, Early led 2 of his 4 regiments, which was 24th, 38th Virginia Infantry, through the woods without performing adequate reconnaissance and found that they emerged not on the enemy's flank, but directly in front of Hancock's guns.
Oh, no.
Which occupied 2 abandoned redoubts.
What the hell?
He personally led the 24th Virginia Infantry on a futile assault and was wounded by a bullet through the shoulder.
I mean, you can't just go running.
Right, running through the woods, and then all of a sudden they get to a clearing, and there's all these blue coats there.
What
dude.
the hell?
What the hell?
Jeez, oh, Pete. Hancock had been ordered repeatedly by Sumner to withdraw his command back to Cub Creek, but he used the Confederate attack as an excuse to hold his ground.
Damn right, we ain't going nowhere. You see these guys?
As the 24th Virginia charge, D.H. Hill emerged from the woods leading one of Early's earlier
regiments.
leading one of Early's other regiments, the 5th North Carolina. He ordered an attack before realizing the difficulty of the situation.
Don't they always?
Hancock's 3,400 infantrymen and 8 artillery pieces significantly outnumbered the 2 attacking Confederate regiments, which were fewer than 1,200 men, with no artillery. He called off the assault after it began.
He's like, hey.
But Hancock ordered a counterattack.
He said, nope, buddy, you're in it now.
No, I'm sorry, bud. You don't get to get away with this one.
Nope.
The North Carolinians suffered 302 casualties. The Virginians, 508.
Keep in mind, that's not all dead.
Right. Union losses were about a hundo.
That's not bad.
After the battle, the counterattack received significant publicity as a major, gallant bayonet charge. And McClellan's description of Hancock's superb performance gave him the nickname Hancock the Superb.
Hancock the Superb. About 2 p.m., Brigadier General John J. Peck's brigade of Brigadier General Darius N. Couch's 1st Division of the 4th Corps arrived to support and extend the right of Hooker's line, which had by this stage been pushed back from the cleared ground in front of Fort Magruder into the abatis and heavy wood about 6,000 yards from the Confederate fortifications.
Right.
The morale of Hooker's troops had been affected terribly by the loss of Captain Charles H. Weber's Battery H of the 1st U.S. Light Artillery and Captain Walter M. Bramhall's 6th Battery of the New York Light Artillery. So they're losing their batteries. That's not good.
Oh.
Peck's arrival on the field and his brigade's recovery of Bramhall's battery, get it back, came at a critical moment for Hooker's division, which was on the verge of retreat.
Oh,
dude.
shit.
Wow.
Wow.
Bramhall came in there and said, call me Bramhall the Superb.
Northern press portrayed the battles as a victory for Federal Army.
Yeah.
McClellan miscategorized it as a brilliant victory over superior forces.
Nope.
Wow. However, the defense of Williamsburg was seen by the South as a means of delaying the Federals, which allowed the bulk of the Confederate Army to continue its withdrawal towards Richmond.
Yeah, I mean,
Confederate casualties, including the cavalry skirmishing on 4th May, were 1,682. Union casualties were 2,283.
not all deaths.
No. Much of the battlefield had been lost to development,
Of course it did.
but the American Battlefield Trust and its partners have acquired and preserved more than 98 acres.
That's a lot.
This total includes the purchase of a 29-acre partial on the battlefield that the Trust bought in December 2020.
Good for them, dude.
Look at them buying stuff in the middle of the pandemic.
So, right. I'm pretty sure this was an inconclusive battle, by the way.
Right.
And then that moves us to the last of our battles, which we take it all the way back to Arizona, guys. The first battle of Dragoon Springs, minor skirmish, obviously, between the Confederate Dragoons of Governor John R. Baylor's Arizona Rangers and a band of Apaches. So we got no Union in here, just Apache warriors.
Hey, look at that.
It was fought on May 5th, 1862, same day as the Battle of Williamsburg, right? Near the present-day town of Benson, Arizona, in the Confederate Arizona Territory.
All right.
Creation of a separate Arizona Territory distinct from the New Mexico Territory in the late 1850s was thwarted over disagreement in Congress on the new territory's boundary.
Okay.
Northern representatives argued for a north-south division along the present Arizona-New Mexico boundary, whereas they got their wish after all, huh?
Right.
Whereas southern representatives pushed for an east-west division along the 34th parallel. With the coming of the Civil War, the new Confederate government was free to establish the boundary as it saw fit. They said, you know what? We don't need your permission.
All right, we'll figure it out, boys. Shortly after the arrival of Confederate forces from Texas, secessionists met at Missoula to adopt an ordinance of secession.
Right.
On 16th of
They
March.
said we want to secede.
Right. On 16th of March, 1861. This aim became a reality following the Confederate victory at the First Battle of Missoula on the 25th of July, 1861.
Way back.
We did that one.
Ages ago already, dude.
Right. On August 1st, 1861, Lieutenant Colonel John R. Baylor, commanding the victorious Confederate troops of Missoula, issued a proclamation declaring the creation of a provisional Confederate territory of Arizona to include all the former United States territory of New Mexico south of the 34th parallel north. Baylor named himself governor, set up a territorial government, and would continue in operation until the Confederates were forced out of New Mexico in July of 1862. Just a few months.
Which we just covered a couple episodes ago. Or no, a couple episodes coming up. We will, trust me. Baylor. There's a whole college named after him in Texas. How come that hasn't been renamed yet?
Right.
Territory of Arizona was officially declared by Confederate president. Here, somebody just happens to listen to it and now listen to us, and they're like,
"Oh man,
it's a good point."
it is."
The territory of Arizona was officially declared by Confederate President Jefferson Davis February 14th, 1862. Shortly thereafter, Confederate forces were deployed on the ambitious New Mexico campaign to gain control of the Southwest. For what? I guess, but
Right.
in order to make good the Confederacy's claim to the western portion of their new Arizona territory, Confederate soldiers commanded by Captain Sherrod Hunter were ordered to occupy Tucson, arriving there on February 28, 1862. They occupied the town until May 14th of 1862, and it was a detachment of these troops that was involved in this fight at Dragoon Springs.
Oh, spaghetti-o. 5th of May, 1862, a small band of mounted Confederates escorting Union prisoners through Texas was encamped at an abandoned Butterfield Overland Mail Stagecoach Station and Spring in the Dragoon Mountains, about 16 miles from the present-day town of Benson and near Dragoon, Arizona. Forced at about 100 Chiricahua Apache warriors, commanded by the war chiefs Cochise and Francisco, they ambushed the party. 3 Confederate soldiers and a young Mexican stock herder were moided.
Oh, come on.
The Apache succeeded in capturing a large number of livestock and horses.
Look at the Apaches going over there and said, we will scalp all you guys.
Yes. This minor skirmish is noted for causing the Confederacy's westernmost battle deaths and is the only known engagement in which Confederate soldiers were killed within the modern confines of Arizona.
Yeah, man. Confederates were kicking ass in Arizona and New Mexico until they got driven out of New Mexico.
Right. It is often included as part of the Apache Wars fought between Apaches and Americans between 1851 and 1900.
Apaches.
Yes.
Apaches.
Apaches.
All right, got a lot of stuff going on right there, and I think that's going to have to end this episode with 3 battles, one very, very important one, and 2 little small skirmishes, but nonetheless,
Less than none.
the Union keeps rolling on,
Rolling.
Crazy stuff.
General McClellan's like, I know y'all be loving this shit right here. People in the South, put your hands in the air.
is right here.
What does it say? People in the South, put your hands in the air.
Because if you don't surrender, then we will kill you. He said, we ain't giving a fuck. Untouchable. Coming up, as we mentioned earlier, Eltham's Landing, which we touched on. Because remember, Corinth lasted until
Right.
a whole month from April to the end of May. So we're going to have a lot of battles between there that are happening as Corinth is going on.
Right.
We're probably going to end up doing, Williamsburg and Williamsburg was indeed inconclusive, and it was a B battle as well. So
Right.
We'll have Eltham's Landing, Battle of McDowell, probably Battle of Drury's Bluff as well. Maybe we can sneak in Battle of Princeton Courthouse.
Most likely.
All coming up because there are only Class D, C's, and B battles coming up there.
And for you Confederate guys, the next episode is going to be a Confederate heavy dose of victory.
Yes, sir. We got straight flush for Confederates coming up in our next few battles. But of course, all 4 battles that we're going to cover are in Virginia, and the Confederates have not lost in Virginia, as far as I know.
Right.
So they're defending Virginia over here.
Well, they better not lose in Virginia.
Meet Virginia, and then our next big battle coming up.
Oh, there it is,
May
right
25th. The first battle of Winchester in Virginia. Again, we got a lot of Virginia stuff coming up. I think the siege on Richmond is going to come up pretty soon as well, right? Well, Bull Run's in Virginia as well. So
There's the first loss of Virginia right there.
Yep.
Hanover Courthouse.
Yes, sir. Got a lot of stuff coming up for you guys, including the big decisive second Bull Run. There would be no Bull Runs after second Bull Run, and that'd be a 2-0 sweep for the Confederates there. But
We got Fredericksburg's coming up. That's another good one.
Battle of Stones River, which is the second Battle of Murfreesboro.
Chickasaw Bayou. That's going to be decent.
Lots of stuff for you guys down the road. We got years of this stuff coming up. We've already been doing this since January, and it's now September, so we've been doing it for 9 months. We're barely even in the middle of 62, dude. That's
pretty good.
Whoa.
A year and a half and 9 months. Year and a half battles in 9 months.
Yeah, but we'll have another at least year and a half of real time. We ain't finishing this until 2024. So we're here for the long run. And to prove that, you guys go check out our other show, Outlaws and Gunslingers, where we've already been at that for 2 years.
We didn't even think it would last that long.
Yep, we've been at that for going on 2 years now. We've got lots and lots of episodes, 2 years, which means about 100 episodes.
85.
Closing in on 100 episodes. 52 weeks a year, bud.
Yeah, we got like 86.
Yeah, closing in on 2 years, like I said. Lots of stuff going on there. We covered everything from Wild West. I mean, sure, if you guys are listening to the Civil War stuff, you like the Wild West stuff, we got at least 25 episodes on Wild West. Everybody from, the Wild West guys. We went for Prohibition. We just finished one up on John Lennon's murder. We're diverse in that series. We do everything and anything over there as we usually do.
We started off in order, and then we said, screw that shit.
Yeah, there's too much stuff. This week's episode of Outlaws and Gunslingers will be all about the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and
Everybody's like, why'd you do that one? It wasn't the September 11th. Well, maybe you guys forgot about this one.
Right, everybody did. They're like, oh yeah, I forgot that happened. But yeah, Ramzi Youssef.
Yeah, Youssef
tried to topple the North Tower into the South Tower. Didn't work. 6 people did end up being killed. But as usual in the Outlaws and Gunslinger series that we do, you'll find that the FBI probably had some involvement in it. So
yes, sir.
And then our other show, if you guys are a fan of sports, we do This Week in Sports History, where we go through every major and not so major, good and bad records of the last week that just happened in history. So go look up Bang Dang Network on the old Google. You'll find this show, that show, plus other shows that we do over there. Plus, go check out Battles of the American Civil War wherever you get your podcast. We'll be back for probably 4 more battles. We're fucking chugging on and chugging along on this battle of the American Civil Wars, and we will be back next week. Mouth Michiganders with
Bang, dang.